තද පැල්ලම් වලට නව Surf Excel Matic දැන් SPP තාක්ෂණයෙන් පළමු මැෂින් වොෂ් එකෙන්ම වියලි තද පැල්ලම් ඉවත් කරයි.
ක්ලීන්ද?
ඇයි සැකද?
නව Surf Excel Matic.
ඉස්සර ෆැමිලි ට්‍රිප් එකට වෑන් එකක් හය කරන්නම වෙනවා. ඒකයි මම රෂ් එකක්ම ගත්තේ Toyota Lanka එකෙන්.
Brand new Toyota වාහනයක් නම් Toyota Lanka.
දුර දකින අය ගන්නෙම Toyota. යන්නෙම Toyota Lanka.
වියලි තද පැල්ලම් වලට නව Surf Excel Matic දැන් SPP තාක්ෂණයෙන් පළමු මැෂින් වොෂ් එකෙන්ම වියලි තද පැල්ලම් ඉවත් කරයි.
ක්ලීන්ද?
ඇයි සැකද?
නව Surf Excel Matic. වියලි තද පැල්ලම් වලට නව Surf Excel Matic දැන් SPP තාක්ෂණයෙන් පළමු මැෂින් වොෂ් එකෙන්ම වියලි තද පැල්ලම් ඉවත් කරයි.
ක්ලීන්ද?
ඇයි සැකද?
නව Surf Excel Matic.
හයිලක්ස් එකක් කියන්නෙම ඕනෑම වෙලාවක ඇසට් එක අමාරුම කාලේ බිස්නස් එක උඩ දැම්මේ මගේ හයිලක්ස් එක. මං ආයෙමත් බය නැතුව ගන්නෙ හයිලක්ස් එකක්මයි.
ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ අපට විශ්වාස Toyota Lanka.
දුර දකින අය ගන්නෙම Toyota, යන්නෙම Toyota Lanka.
වියලි තද පැල්ලම් වලට නව Surf Excel Matic දැන් SPP තාක්ෂණයෙන් පළමු මැෂින් වොෂ් එකෙන්ම වියලි තද පැල්ලම් ඉවත් කරයි.
ක්ලීන්ද?
ඇයි සැකද?
නව Surf Excel Matic.
Opportunity for the national team to showcase what they've got.
Here are the ball girls that will be doing duty today on the perimeter of the ground to make sure that this vast racecourse complex doesn't lose any of our rugby match balls. And that's the set of officials as well. Just to remind our viewers that South Korea are placed at 30 in the world rankings, and Sri Lanka at the moment placed in 39, so a good 9 places between them in the world rankings. Hong Kong, the top placed team, are 22. As we see both teams running out to rapturous applause from the small but growing crowd that is gathered here today. Korea led by Kwang Yong Na, their captain, and the referee also someone that Sri Lanka will be familiar with. Teams lining up in preparation for their national anthems. Physically, of course, the Korean squad looking much bigger on the ground, and that's something Sri Lanka are going to have to contend with up front. That's where the battle is going to be won and lost. But if these dangerous Sri Lankan backs can get some quality ball, then they might shift this big Korean pack around. But just looking at them physically, Abdullah, you have to think the front five got their work cut out for them.
Yes, most definitely. And if they can just get some parity up front, at the very least, Shanaka, then I think Sri Lanka do have the backs who can do the needful outright. Tactics are going to play such a big part in these international games, and I'm sure a lot of analysis in the lead up to this game would have been done by both sides. So it'll be interesting to see tactically how both teams approach this game.
Sports Minister Sunil Kumar Gamage being introduced to the South Korean team, alongside embassy officials from South Korea and senior DIG retired Mr. Latif, who is the head of the working task force given the job of bringing Sri Lanka's rugby's constitution back into the reckoning. This is Minister Gamage being introduced to the home team. Chatra Soiza, lanky lad, might see him on. Interesting that Sri Lanka have chosen to go with a 6-2 split on the bench, Abdullah. Something that has been a talking point ever since Rasi Erasmus decided to use it as in international rugby. And Rodney Gibbs and the rest of the Brains Trust have chosen to go with an extra forward on the bench.
Yes, when the list came out, it was something which everyone was talking about, but I'm sure there must be a sound thinking behind that as well, because I think the forwards are going to have a big role to play in today's game, and for that they will need fresh legs as much as possible during the latter part of the game. I think, Shanaka, that last quarter could prove crucial, and from that point of view, I think they'll just need to try and get as many fresh legs, especially in terms of the top 8. In order to negate whatever South Korea can throw at them.
So, few moments before the national anthems are played and we're ready to kick off. Welcoming Sudarshan Apiris to the commentary box as well. We'll get your thoughts on this game just after the national anthems are done.
Ladies and gentlemen, please remain standing for the national anthem of Sri Lanka.
Well, the anthems are done, and now it just remains for the referee to blow his whistle and get us started off on day one of the round 3 of the Asian Men's Rugby Championship. Down for decision is a place in the Rugby World Cup. Kwang Yong Na is the captain. He'll be joined in the front row by In Bum Hwang and Hyun Soo Lee, Hyun-jae Lee and Dae Yoon Yang in the second row, and Oki No, Jun Yong Park and the giant Jong Woong Hwang in the number 8 position. Jae Jun Hui, Kim In Kim in the halves combination, and on the wings we have Young Sok Jeong on the right wing and Jeong Min Jang on the left. Jing Yu Lee and Gwen Yu Park will be 12 and 13, and Hyung Yu Jang will be in the last line of defense. Kim Kang Chue, Kim Chue Jang in the replacements bench. Then we have Sri Lanka from Senra Pereira, Pulassi Dasanayaka, Tanuja Jayavira, Navin Marasinghe, Tirana Bandara, Rahiru Tilakaratne coming into the side, Tarindu Chaturanga, Lasundu Karnatilaka, the vice captain, Heshan Johnson pairs off with his captain Ratwata, Dinala Ekanaka retaining his place on the left wing, Akash Madhusarka joined by the newcomer Adam Gowda, Pasundu Bandara on the right, and Murshid Zubair restored to the number 15 jersey. And we're taking off in this championship with Kim In Kim, who makes a kick down to and quickly back to halfway. A clearance kick from Murshid Zubair. So first line out of the game, Sudarshana, important.
Yeah, interesting one there because South Korea rather going to be very effective when it comes to line out time with their height.
Taken quickly and playing at pace, South Korea taken forward by Inbum Hwang. And here they are in central midfield by Hyungjae Lee. Lee still going. Quick ball once again for South Korea, testing Sri Lanka's defense, but up quickly was Sarinder Ratpratha, the captain, flying up and making a stop behind the gain line. Nice hands that time from the big Jong-Young Park. Still quick, and this is some nice pace and revolutions on the ball, and the winger getting through Jung Mang Jang. Nice ball from Kim In Kim. Opts to run, and Lasandu Ishan makes the tackle. It's been all South Korea in this opening 2 minutes. Good bust up from Hyun-Soo Lee. And this is the danger man, the big Hwang Jung-wook. They'll need to keep a marker on him, would Sri Lanka. Inbum Hwang again with the carry. No joy for the Sri Lankan defense, South Korea. Lovely fend that time. Sri Lanka not committing too many players to the ruck, which is good to see from the defensive point of view. And that straight through goes Gwen Yu Park. Park Jun-yu. Here's a big man, Lee. On to Park again. Park Jung-yong, that was number 7. Kim In Kim, and that's Sri Lanka's first indiscretion. Flying up in the tackle though was Dina Lekanayaka, making it behind the gain line, but the referee had already said playing advantage for offside.
Sri Lanka doing well so far up until the point where they overstepped that offside line. South Korea, of course, looking to use the width of the field. That's going to be very, very interesting how they are going to use that, because they are going to have the heftier forwards who will want to try and capitalize.
Yes, wave after wave of attack by South Korea. And touch has been missed, but Ekanayaka not collecting it cleanly, putting the boot to it, and his turned position back in favor of the Koreans.
Park Jung-young with a nice ball to Jang Jong-min, and into the 22 for the first time go the Koreans. Sri Lanka held them at bay for as long as possible. That's Kim In Kim now finding his fullback, but again good spot tackle that time by Sri Lanka, but a lovely pass from Hwang. Finds the first runner, Jeong Jun-soo. Again, Sri Lanka's defense has been good so far, but Lee manages to rescue an untidy ball on the floor. And Hyo gives it away to a short runner this time. The big number 12, Lee Jing-yu. Again, it's very quick ball, and that's the first error, unforced error in fact, from South Korea. But picked up quickly was Jan Jong-min. Sri Lanka's defense have managed to regroup, but taking a few with him was Inbum Hwang, in the middle of the front row. That time, Murshid Zubair flying up, managing to create a bit of panic, but South Korea recovering very well. Here's Yang Dae-yong. Here's Hwang again. Inbum Hwang has carried strongly in these first few moments. Here's the fullback coming into the line, a little bit of space available, and they're over. Yes, they are. Dina Lekanayaka just can't make the tackle in time. And South Korea score for the first time through Jan Jong-min. Number 11, it was always coming. It took 3 minutes for them to break Sri Lanka's defensive line, but the amount of quick ball they had, Abdullah, it was always going to be a matter of time.
Yes, very simple, isn't it? Just executed the basics brilliantly, created phase after phase. As much as Sri Lanka defensive formation did their best, unfortunately, just the pressure was too much for Sri Lanka to absorb in the end.
Yeah, heftier lads running at you in pace was always going to be a difficult one for the Sri Lankan defenses, but Yong Min Young managing to touch down in the far corner. They were using the width of the field, and what they did very well is to earn the right to go wide with some runners through the middle, putting pressure. Young Min Young playing for Kepco back in South Korea. gets the opening score, and the conversions through as well. 7 points in all. Conversion coming through Hong Yung Yang, playing in his second international cap, getting South Korea those additional points.
Good kick from Jang Hyung-yu. Just squeezing it in at the right hand upright. And Sri Lanka will take a little bit of heart from that defensive performance as well. They managed to only concede one penalty as they had the much heavier South Koreans running at them. And Ratwatta now will try and get Sri Lanka into the South Korean half for the first time. Just try and feel the ball in their hands. Murshid Zubair. Long pass out to Tarinder Ratwatta, who sees a little bit of space, but unfortunately I think a little bit of breeze that has picked up here, which doesn't augur well for the rains coming, and the skipper's kick gets taken off with it for a full out, which means they'll come back and concede South Korea the ball.
Yeah, a strong gust of wind going from left to the right of your screens, and the line-out time is going to be interesting because South Korea has two locks who are over 6 feet. So there's going to be a massive height difference.
Ball loose.
Tackled out the ball, number 9.
But a penalty coming through, or that the ball was loose. I thought Heshan Jansen went through and had no option but to try and get his hands on the ball, but instead played the man. And Sri Lanka's second penalty, so discipline is going to be a key factor against a superior team like this, Abdallah.
Yes, and you sense that position is going to be as important as well, isn't it, Shanaka? Because South Korea, just seen how disciplined they are and how proficient they have been at breakdown time, especially when they do have ball in hand. It's very hard to turn them over. So whenever Sri Lanka do get possession, they need to ensure that they make maximum use of it. As we have a look at that replay once again.
Heshan Jansen just didn't keep his eyes on the ball there. And this is Hui Zhejung. And this is a try scorer coming straight through the middle once again. Jang Jong-yu. Jong-min. Here's the big Hwang straight through the middle. Lee Hyun-soo. Sri Lanka just haven't had a chance to get their hands on the ball at all. And here's a captain now who hands off to his front row partner. Hwang has taken a few tacklers. This is the big second row unit, Yang Deon. And plenty of running also from Park Jung-yong in the number 7 jersey. They haven't been called on to defend at all. And that mistake putting Sri Lanka under a lot of pressure, having to make plenty of tackles, and that was a very good tackle made by Taridu Chaturanga. Gets a congratulation from Adam Gowda as he forces a knock on.
Yes, another good defensive effort by the Sri Lankans, but just in these 10 minutes they have been forced to make a lot of tackles in this, Shanak, and Sri Lanka will do well to now just try and hold on to possession a bit, just try and create something of their own, because don't think they want to play much more rugby without the ball in hand. Can have its effects later on in the game.
In a little bit of a sticky position, Sri Lanka, to try and do that, because they need to now exit. They are in the red zone and you don't want to play a lot of rugby inside your red zone. So they will look to try and get out to the halfway mark, but go for touch. Don't keep ball in play.
First scrum of the game. This is going to be a telling factor, as well as Lasindu Ishan does really well to channel one quickly and come off the back. Really good work from the Sri Lankan 8 there, although they were going back pretty quickly. Senura Pereira lays it back in the tackle of Yang Deon. And Tarinder Ratwatta puts this deep into the hands of Jang Hyung-yo. And here's the danger man. He's got speed going on the outside, cutting back infield. And good defense once again. Sri Lanka recovering well that time through Lahiru Tilakaratne. Not wanting to pick that one up, and Sri Lanka flying up in defense. That was Pulassi Dasanayaka, who's already breathing pretty heavily. They managed to control the ball, but South Korea have gone a little bit further back as Kim In Kim puts the first kick from open play up into the air. and taken comfortably by Murshid Zubair. He had no support with him, so had to take the tackle of Park Gyung-yu.
The ball's available.
It's been turned over and in favor of South Korea. Now they will counter-attack. Good tackle again on Lee Hyung-ye.
Brilliant work by Navin Marasing and Tilna Bandar combining there, taking that man. These kind of tackles will give them a lot of confidence for Sri Lankans. They will want to make sure that they keep, taking these big men on is going to take a toll, but this will lift their psychology as well, and they will want to make sure that they have that psychological advantage here playing at home.
It's another area where Sri Lanka should look to capitalize on is in counter-attack as well, isn't it, Shanika, especially in the ball is kicked to them. They don't want to get into too many contact situations because just seen at the breakdown how strong this Korean outfit are.
Yes, I was surprised there was no real support or plan from when Zubair picked that ball up, which was kicked to them. This time it's Sri Lanka's ball. It's an early shove and they need to take this quickly and run, and that's exactly what Heshan Jansen has done. 10 meters is okay, says the referee, and Heshan Jansen now finds the ball to Tilina Bandara. Probably the hardest working forward in the Sri Lankan lineup, and no tackle, no clear release means that Sri Lanka will have their first penalty of the game.
Yes, well, that will make Sri Lanka feel much better. An opportunity to get back into the Korean half. Skipper Ratwata obliges with a good touch finder, almost to the 22.
First line out of the game in favor of Sri Lanka. They're going against two 6-footers in Lee Hee-yong and Yang Dae-young, both playing for Hyundai Glovis, the national champions in South Korea. So it'll be interesting what options they take here. With Tilna Bandara, they will be able to try and match up to that 6-footer height. But it's the lifters that are the concern for Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka also without their second line-out option of Nizran Nila after they lost Adisha Veeratunga to a knee injury. But Bandara will take this one at the front, and that's where Sri Lanka are going to be really trying to make sure they win their number 2 ball. Yang Dae-young. Contact in the air is a corner. You could see him jumping right across Tilina Bandara. And referee laying down the law early on.
This is a good sign. Tilna Bandara showcasing that he will be a threat, because when it comes, yes, the height can be a problem, but the speed at getting to air, I think Tilna Bandara is slightly in front. So Ratwate deciding that he's not going to go for 3 because that was definitely in his range. He wants to ride on the momentum and try and make sure that Sri Lanka gets that territorial advantage and hopefully 5 points.
It was Hwang Jengwook at the front of that line-out who offended. And that's really good defense from South Korea, driving Sri Lanka back. And this is the biggest man in the Sri Lankan pack, Marasinghe. Heshan Jansen to Akash. His good ball from, and lovely hands from passing to Bandara, and Murshid Zore goes under the post. Really good slate of hand from Sri Lanka's backs. Lasinta Di Costa will be beside himself on the bench, and Rodney Gibson, the coaching staff, take a bow because that was a beautifully created try from first phase for Sri Lanka.
Oh, incredible stuff from Sri Lanka. This is what they will want to do. I saw Tarinder Ratwate having a conversation with you prior to the game, Shanika. There is a tagline of Sri Lanka being called the Asian Fijians, and they are living up to that name. Beautiful first phase ball. You may have had heart in your mouth when Tarinder Ratwate got contact, but Pasidhu Bandara doing very well to offload to Murshid Zubair, who goes right underneath the post. This will lift the spirits of the Sri Lankans.
It's just wonderful hands, isn't it, by the Sri Lankans? Just lovely touches. There was no long passes. They're running at wonderful angles, some good decoy runners as well. And Tarinder makes no mistake with the conversion. So it's 7 points all, and I think Sri Lanka will be pretty pleased the fact that they were under the pump for most of this game, but after 15 minutes, it's 7 points all.
Murshid Zubair with his try, restored to the starting lineup after missing out against the New Zealand under-85s. Tharindra Ratwatha giving the 2 points to bring Sri Lanka up to even keel. But the work rate, Abdullah, of Pasindu Bandara coming off the right wing, making sure he timed his run perfectly so that Tharindra Ratwatha could just pop it to him, and making sure he made the pass as well. Didn't try to go an extra step before the contact, made the pass to Dore. That was a really well constructed tie from Sri Lanka. Murshid Zubair now called on to clear his lines, opts to go into touch, and Zhang Hyongju takes it just on the touchline. So a good exit from Sri Lanka after scoring as well.
Yes, brilliant touch finder by Murshid Zubair, taking play into the Koreans' half. The wind has picked up here at the race course as well. So the throws are going to be tested.
That one is completely overthrown, but first to the ball was Kim In Kim.
No contest.
Heshan Jansen trying to milk a penalty, but referee wise to exactly what was happening. And nice hands that time from Korea, but that time not so much, as Park Jun-yu puts it behind him, and Thirina Bandara is the only one available, and unfortunately the second row forward doesn't have the pace to match the Korean back.
Captain, you have an option.
And also the touch that he needed to try and make sure that he slows down in goal. Then the Bandara from Sylvester's places rugby in Kandy, not to places what's known for the footballing skills, as he gets his foot on the ball.
Another really good chop tackle that time, which created that mistake. Looked like it might have been Senura Pereira coming in the headband for Sri Lanka. Tanuja Jayavira on the tight head side against the Korean captain, conceding quite a bit of weight.
It's a big part of the game. No doubt the Koreans will look to try and exploit the Sri Lankan scrum. But Sri Lanka have done well. Now Korea trying to launch an attack.
Stepping back infield that time was Lee Jingyu. But Sri Lanka do well to win the penalty, as South Africa losing their feet, South Korea rather losing their feet. And the thing is, Abdullah, you've seen the intensity going out of the Korean attack. That was the first 10 minutes that they really hammered the Sri Lankan line, but then the humidity will come into play, and that's what we might see as we go forward.
So as we have a look at that once again, penalized for not staying on their feet is the Korean blindside flanker. Yes, and I think that's why it's more important that Sri Lanka play this game with at a bit of pace, isn't it, Shanik? If they can do that consistently, then they will definitely reap the benefits of that in the final quarter of the game.
Ratha to give Sri Lanka a lead. Stuck it well, and that's good. So Sri Lanka go out into the lead in the 20th minute of this game. 10 points to 7. And it looks like their nerves have settled, Sudarshan. We've never beaten this opposition, but now they think they have a chance.
Well, Sri Lanka have never beaten this opposition, but South Africa have never taken on Sri Lanka. South Korea, they have never taken on Sri Lanka here in Sri Lanka. So these conditions are not very favorable for big units to be running around. So Sri Lanka will take a lot of confidence in that, playing at home. 10 points to 7 in the 20th minute of the game, as the referees decide on taking a quarter break.
Yes, and you have to commend the Sri Lankans' defensive effort in this first quarter of the game as well. Korea have thrown everything at them, and Sri Lanka have definitely put their bodies on the line, made the tackles count, and when they've had the opportunity, they've managed to put points on the board. So Sri Lanka, so far, after this first 5 to 10 minutes, it looked pretty ominous for the Sri Lankans, isn't it, Chanak? But from then on, Sri Lanka have just settled in, and they've managed to get points on the board, which will definitely make them feel much better.
Well, the match officials from the UAE JP Clement. He's been here and officiated before, as has Jako Divit, the first assistant, and Jriji Ayman. And Tony Dumini is the TMO for today. He's just on a couple of floors below us. But Clement being very strict at the breakdown, which Sri Lanka will be happy for because they want to play at a faster pace, and they've got players who can be dangerous over the ball. Taridu Chaturanga and Lasindu Ishan, Karunathilaka especially, because the Korean back row looks like they're a bit more of a ball carrying back row, Abdullah, rather than fetchers. As it's kicked off by the Koreans. First touch for Adam Gowda. Heshan Jansen. Senura Pereira carries into contact. And another tackle made by young Deong, who has been very good defensively. It's a high kick, it's contestable. And that time it's put down. Thilinda Bandara goes after it and wins the penalty. Beautifully done by Bandara.
Off your feet again.
Off feet is a call, so
Captain.
the Koreans having a little bit of a problem entering the breakdown.
Yes, a wonderfully weighted box kick by Heshan Jansen as well, and a brilliant chase. So tactically, Sri Lanka just getting it right here, ensuring and looking to try and play the game in the Korean half. And as a result of that penalty, Tarinder Ratwata has signaled to the post.
Well, rightfully so, I believe, because there is a huge gust of wind which is behind him. Ratwata looking to try and take all the advantage he can. Credit to Lasindu Karunathilaka, who was going on to that ball, which put the doubt in the mind of the Korean player who was going for that ball. Opportunity for Ratwata to put 6 points between the two. Definitely has the distance. There was a little wobble in the ball.
Didn't strike it as well as he would have liked, Tarinder, that time. But we'll now get the ball back from the line outs. Rohan Chintaka, Sri Lanka's manager, on his feet. Sri Lanka will have the ball back in this line out though. But the strength of the wind means it's a little bit difficult to strike as well, because it's at a little bit of an angle coming from top to bottom and left to right on your screen diagonally. Pulasi Dasanayak to throw into this line out. Nicely taken by Bandara, and Johnson has some nice quick ball. Akash, not a great pass, but Lasindu Ishan does well to cut back on the angle. Another tackle made by Lee Hyungjae in the number 4 jersey. Running a nice angle that time was Dinalek, and I got to pass into Bandara, puts the fender on, and his pass inside is not a good one. Heshan Jansen tries to put the ball through on the grubber, but unfortunately there's too much of a mess.
Take a tackle. Okay.
And
Time off.
JP Clement saying that they need to check the tackle.
Would like to have a, have a look at the tackle over here. By Green. On Green. Okay.
This is the tackle that they're looking at. Dina Lekanayaka back of the hand to pass into Bandara. Coming across is the fullback. And
Tony, what I'm seeing is momentum's carried him forward. There are arms in the tackle. And it's a rugby incident play on.
it's a fair enough call.
Tony, I agree.
Thank you. There's nothing in that. I have a penalty here for tackle without the ball. Okay? Yes, over here.
Well done.
We have nothing in that, but I have a penalty, tackle without the ball.
It's the second time Sri Lanka conceding a penalty for tackling without the ball. TMO ruling quite correctly, I think, that there was nothing in that tackle. Passing the Bandara just kept going, and there were arms. He just went straight over the would-be tackler, who was Zhang
My apologies.
Yungu.
It's not tackled out the ball. It's knock on offside. Yeah. It's knock on offside, not tackle offside. Numbers, please.
I think Sri Lanka will be quite encouraged by how their backs have managed to break that gain line, and what they need to do is try and keep a tab on that penalty count.
I'm happy. Number 8 offside. Yeah.
Number 8 offside is a call, and he was talking to Lasindhu Ishan all the way.
Number 8 offside.
And it'll be interesting to look at this one again, because Lasindhu Ishan will argue that he was only moving laterally and not moving up, but he did leave the line out, and you can't leave the line out. So even if the referee is not called the correct offence, Lasindhu Ishan couldn't leave the line out before it was over. So
You can't cross the 15, and you need to stay a metre and a half, 2 metres back. Okay? If you're not, that's okay. You can't cross the 15.
referee getting it spot on there when he's explaining it to Lasindhu. He can't cross the 15 before the line out is over. So it's a technical penalty, but still, nevertheless, rugby is a technical game. Tirina Bandara coming straight through, and missed a little opportunity there, Sri Lanka, to now they counter-ruck. Pulasi Dasanayaka. Slow ball for the first time for the Koreans, and Park Jung-yong.
Right.
The 2 second rows combining. Lee to Yang. And Kim puts a little chip in there. Backwards is the call, and Murshid Zubair has no option but to go down on that ball. And that's absolutely spot on by JP Clements there. Murshid Zubair went down to dive on that ball, and you can't go down on a player who's on the floor.
Sri Lanka will be revealed that they can get out of jail here. Tarinder getting in on the referees here and telling him there have been a few tackles which haven't had the wraparound. And when you do get hit by this large man, but that's a touch and a half from Tarinder, getting his team onto the opposition 50. Take a look at that. Dore was already on the ground, and that's very dangerous. Exposed spine, and the player going down, that's very, very dangerous with the ball underneath him as well.
Lee Jung-yu, who should probably have known better than to fall on a player on the ground. Pulasi Dasanayaka looks for Tirina Bandara. Nice little controlled tap down to Jansen. Akash for the first time with ball in hand. Tanuja Jayavira, decoy runner, lovely little jab through, but maybe that's not what Sri Lanka need at the moment. Want to keep it in hand as Zhang puts this deep, but Murshid Zubair finds Lasindhu Karunatilaka. Wrapped up in a bear hug by the Korean skipper. They've got numbers now, Sri Lanka just can't move it. And now Kim has a little bit of space, puts his head back, puts his ears back, steps inside. Beautiful run from Kim. Huang just can't go to hand. And here's a little back of the hand one from Hyo. Hyo now with a nice ball again. Sri Lanka really squandering an opportunity there, and here's Na. And the Korean captain just can't get the hands working and spills it forward.
Yes, Sri Lanka will definitely breathe a sigh of relief. Definitely under a lot of stress in defense. But again, Sri Lanka just missing an opportunity there. Probably Tirina Bandara need to get that out a bit earlier. He had players outside him.
Here's the South Korean skipper in his 24th cap. Plays his rugby in Japan for Kuboto Spears, so very experienced lad. 32-year-old, really putting his head down, leading his nation with pride. But Sri Lanka will be pretty happy that they have an opportunity to try and get out of their red zone yet again. And it would be nice to see if they could spring a surprise by attacking the ball.
Ball is up.
Again, really nicely done by Lasindu Ishan. But it's been turned over. He did knock the ball on there. Really difficult skill to master for number 8s to pick up from a scrum going backwards at a rate of knots. So this is where Sri Lanka will struggle against the best in the world or the best in Asia in the front 5.
Tackle!
Hill looks for, and that's a double knock on, and Marasinger knows that was an opportunity.
Then by Green.
Yes, Tiraleka Nayak on the outside was licking his fingers, but Marasinger getting a little too eager. The biggest man on the pitch for Sri Lanka wanted to try and make that work. Sri Lanka will be happy that they've gotten possession back in the form of a scrum. Scrums haven't been their
The ball went out.
friend so far, but they will want to make sure that they keep control of the ball.
Just close the gap.
Yes, so far Sri Lanka defensively we have read the Korean plays quite well. But the Koreans have looked dangerous whenever they have built repeated phases. So possession is going to be crucial for Sri Lanka, and they've got to make sure they take care of it when they do have the ball in hand.
Sit!
Coach Rodney Gibbs may have a word with the Sri Lankan defensive line that they need to spot a little bit earlier. Heshan Jansen with a lovely little step, and they just can't manage to hang on by the fingernails and taken out. But they need to check it as Young-soo manages to rescue the story for Korea.
Time off.
And referee has said that they're checking
Time off.
the tackle, the block. Let's see what they have to say.
Heshan Jansen putting in a real nice kick, but referee Clements will now take a look at that.
I would like to check the contact here after the kick on Green.
Stand by.
Referring it to the television match official.
Okay, so it's 15 white.
For me, the red side it's okay because it's
That's okay.
the same line. Yes. And he didn't tackle him, he just stopped.
Well, absolutely
I'm at
no
play on.
intention in that, although it did look dangerous.
JP
and
Tony.
intentional. The player did completely keep his eyes on the ball.
White number
turned away from the
15
tackler.
holds his line. He does not change his channel.
Running into
There is no head contact,
the player.
so therefore no foul play.
Right, perfect. So no head contact, no foul play. He does not change his lane. I will continue with a scrum attacking ball for White over here. Happy?
Agreed.
Captain, we've had a look. There's no foul play. He remains stationary and your kicker makes contact with him. Yep. We will continue with the scrum for White.
I think that was really well handled by the entire team of referees, and Tarindra
No foul
Ratpatha
play,
accepting
scrum White.
the decision as well. But beautiful step off the left foot, completely wrong footing his opposite number, Heshan Jansen, and just by the fingernails Park Jung-young just couldn't hold on. And I thought that maybe a grubber or a pass inside to Ratpatha, who was herring in, might have been the option. But we don't know what he was hearing in his right ear.
Right, time back on, scrum, attacking ball.
Lasindu Ishan screaming for the block, but unfortunately the TMO saw exactly
Come
what
closer,
happened.
the gap's too big. Come close, up, closer.
Young Hong Yu straight away putting his hands up and saying that he crashed onto me. I had absolutely nothing to do with that. But Sri Lanka will be hoping that they can put some pressure here. And as South Korea rather,
Crouch!
beg your pardon, as we keep saying South Africa.
Sit!
Korea marching forward, Sri Lanka doing well to stay in the game, and they have considered the penalty that time. It's a terrible scourge. Akash Madhushanka knocks this one forward. And this is an area of the game, Abdullah, that smaller teams just will always struggle with.
Thank you.
Yes, most definitely. And
Penalty.
it's surprised that the Korea didn't look to exploit this a bit earlier in the game. So Sri Lanka will need to just manage that aspect, especially defensively. We've seen that Korea applying the pressure when Sri Lanka do have ball, but Sri Lanka so far have managed that area of the scrum offensively well, but in defense it's an area where they'll need to just try and tighten up.
It's interesting as well where how Korea is using the weight advantage, because with Young Na, Wong and Lee, they have over 340 kilos in their front row, but they are not trying to outmuscle Sri Lanka in every scrum. But when they are in the red zone, they are trying to draw that penalty using that weight. But this time around, Lasita Karunathilaka collecting that overthrown ball.
Nicely done by Karunathilaka. Sri Lanka really need to tighten up in the line-out so that they can withstand the pressure that's coming in the scrums. And unfortunately, that box kick directly into touch. So these are the small mistakes, 2 kick errors that have put Sri Lanka under real trouble.
Yeah, that's right. Very unfortunate. Thought Ekanayaka had made enough ground, but also the wind has picked up here in the race course as well. So it's a bit of a swirling wind. So both teams will need to take that into account, especially when it comes to the kicking game. So we see Korea launching an attack.
Yes. Yo. Big run straight through from Lee Hyun-soo.
Off the foot.
Here's Hwang, trying to get his arms free. Does well that time, the big Korean number 8. And it has been knocked forward by Hwee Junjun. Hwee Junjun knocking that one on at the base. So giving Sri Lanka a little bit of a reprieve there.
One thing Sri Lanka have shown in this first half and also of the game is their ability to beat the Korean opponents one-on-one, isn't it? I think it's something they will need to try and explore a bit more, because the more they go into contact and just try and create that extra phase or two, there is a chance that they could lose possession against this more bigger-made Korean athletes.
Come close.
Be interesting to see what Rodney Gibbs has to say.
Also adding on to what Abdullah said, I think something that Sri Lankans will take a lot of heart is the fact that despite the wave after wave of attack, how Sri Lankan defensive line has...
Crouch! Bad! Set!
Korea just smashing that straight through, and that's another scrum penalty.
Number 1,
and it looks like it's taken them nearly 35 minutes to realize, Abdullah, but now they know exactly what they're going to go to.
Number 1, straight to ground.
To destroy the Sri Lankan scrum. And the more you win penalties in the scrum, the more meters you concede, and the more tired you get. And that's what wears the game down as a battle of attrition. Interesting to see what Rodney Gibbs will have to say and how soon he'll bring those 6 substitutes on off the bench.
Let's have a look at that once again. I think the strike need to probably be a touch quicker, but what a scrum by the Korean 8.
It's a better line out from the Koreans. Taken by Young Dae-yong in front.
Number 8, get out. Get out, get out, get out.
Here's the driving maul against this much smaller side. In Bum Hwang rolls off, comes away.
Body position up.
Sri Lanka will be defending for their lives now, and it looks like there might have been a bit of a head contact there. And Tarindu Chaturanga, or Lahiru Tilakaratne, actually looks to be the man on the floor. And this could be a little dangerous. And it looks like there was a head contact between Lahiru Tilakaratne and Young Dae-yong.
It's good to see nothing serious, but the only downside of that stoppage is that Sri Lanka will now have to defend a scrum 5 meters away from the try line.
Well, from the moment referee Clements did notice that there was some contact, he wanted to make sure there was no further damage down to Lahiru Tirikatna, who was lying on the floor, because there were big men rolling away from that rug. So it was nice to see how he interfered and made sure that Tilakaratna was safe, as we see Adhikaram and Vimuktikamage warming up. 6 forward substitutes, so the physicality of these South Korean forwards was forecasted by the Sri Lankan coaching unit and the management. There we see.
That's where the incident occurred. Referee saying there was no foul play because both players went down together. But it's interesting to see how he had a chat with the front rowers and said, look, you guys need to be stronger on the set. So as we know, there's a bind set.
Scrum going forward.
That's where they need to be stronger. So even before the hit is made, before the engagement happens,
Bad! Set!
That's where Sri Lanka need to hit forward. And yes, you can see that Tanuja Jayavira is struggling, really struggling at the tight head side, and Na Kweng Yung is using all his experience against him.
100% Shanaka, the skipper, the veteran of the side, using all his experience, quickly taken by South Korea.
Here's Hwang, takes it into the red zone. Here's Lee. Lee over the try line almost, just can't get the ball away, and now it's on for South Korea.
Tackle release!
No Oki, and yes, he's got the try.
He's on the moment.
No Oki is the man who scored, and he's managed to get over with the momentum of the carry. And the Korean number 6 gets their second try after about half an hour's worth of trying.
No, okay, the flanker, but on the run up to that, the earlier move, Shanaka, I thought Sri Lanka missed a trick to try and bring him on to the in goal, because if it was held up, that would have been a goal kick. But Noki, just the earlier move, if we can see, being a little too strong, managing to go all the way and touchdown despite having 2 men around him.
It's a real brute strength by the Korean front rower, rather the blindside flanker. So conversion is successful, and the Koreans are going to a 14 points to 10 lead. Jang with the conversion.
Easy kick for Jang. And again, it's just a physical battle, isn't it, Abdullah? That strength in the front 5 that Sri Lanka haven't been able to withstand. One-on-one, they have been fantastic, the Sri Lankans. They've tackled them into a standstill. They've made sure they've spotted up on the defensive line and done really well in everything but the scrum. And what can you say? Taridu Chaturanga with a beautiful chop tackle again. Lahiru Tilakaratna rather, with a brilliant chop tackle.
Carry back. Carry.
Kim
Thank you.
gives it to Murshid Zubair, who will want to spark a counter attack. Here's Sarinder Ratwat, a lovely flat ball to pass into Bandara. He says it's a forward, but we'll come back and have a look at that. It was a lovely flat ball, but Yako Dewitt is the man who called it forward out of the hands.
That will be for interesting viewing. Tarinder Ratwat, they were sure that was a flat pass, and passing the Bandara. Keep an eye on Ratwat's hands. But Bandara, in fact, collects it behind that 10-meter line, and Ratwate passes it in front of the 10-meter line. So, very interesting one there.
Yes, and it's the release from the fingertips, isn't it?
So
That's always
while we wait,
the barometer from which the
I spoke to you
referees have
before
to
that
make the
scrum
call.
about taking a step back on the hit.
Has been
There is hardly any pressure.
called as forward,
On set, you're
so
taking a step back. You need to keep your feet
fortunately
strong.
for Sri Lanka,
Okay, and keep it up.
missed
Don't move back.
opportunity.
It's a bit of coaching happening for Senra Pereira, and referee JP Clement is absolutely right. Yako Dewitt is the man who called that from the sideline, the United Arab Emirates referee. This refereeing team from the UAE.
We have one.
Be interesting to see that one again if our production team can show it to us. Here's Murshid Zubair. Here's the pass, and you can see where it comes. And yes, did it travel out of the hands forward? Was taken slightly forward from where Tarinder Ratpatha actually passed the ball, but that's quite normal in rugby. But did it come forward out of the hands? That's the question that needs to be asked. There's a fairly strong wind in that same direction as well, and that's what Abdullah, the coaching staff, will have to take into account, because Sri Lanka will be against the wind this next half. So this is what referee Clement has been talking about, that on set, on the count of set, Sri Lanka are taking a step back. This is what Senra Pereira needs to improve.
Set.
And that's better.
Thanks, Yaku.
And again,
Number one, straight to ground.
that's another call from Yako Dewitt coming from the touchline. Number one going straight to ground.
Na Kwang Young,
Number one.
the Korean skipper, trying to employ the dark arts, but getting caught to the assistant referee. Something that the Sri Lankan team will take a look at is the fact that Tanuja Jayavira in that number 3 jersey is the shortest out of the lot when it comes to the front row. So it's always going to make that mismatch, and if you take a look at the height of that scrum, Jayavira straight away is struggling when the set happens. So that is putting pressure on the Sri Lankan first rowers, which South Korea, merely due to the mismatch in weight, is exploiting.
Lasinda Vishan has to come away because that number 2 ball was really well attacked by the South Korean defense. Here's Tirina Bandara, not the man you want running into bigger men. This might be one of the men that you want taking on the South Koreans. Senra Pereira, here's a nice little show and go from Tarindra Ratpatha, stays on his feet, the Sri Lankan skipper. Heshan Jansen. Lovely ball from Murshid Zubair. It looked like it might have been forward. Passing to Bandara. They'll come back to check it, I'm sure. But for a moment, it looked like it might have been forward. So let's not get too excited too soon, as I'm sure this one is going to be called back.
Well, the assistant referee on the far side momentarily reached out to his communication device where he wanted to try and check that, but then decided otherwise. Referee Clements is going ahead with the conversion. If he wanted to call it back, this one here did look like it was forwards, but Pasidu Bandara touching down right underneath the pores. This should be bread and butter for Tarinder Ratpatha to convert. And if there was a check, it would have been done before the conversion. So no problem there. 17 points to 14, 3-point lead for Sri Lanka.
Well, that's something that has changed, Sudarshana, recently. That before the next kickoff, they can call it back. The pass from Murshid Zubair to Pasindu Bandara was almost certainly forward. And if he has blown half time, Sri Lanka's got away with one.
Ladies and gentlemen, as the first half of the match ends, Sri Lanka leads 17-14.
Yeah, the referee surely has called half time. And the halftime confirmation, 17 points to 14, and the Sri Lankans will take a lot of heart from this scoreline. Two tries each for both the teams, and Sri Lanka managing to get that penalty, which will give them a lot of confidence going into halftime. Inside the dressing room, Coach Gibbs will have a word with them. Now they will have to show their flair in the second half.
Certainly will. It's half-time on match day 1 of this third round of the Asia Rugby Emirates Men's Championship, and Sri Lankan fans will argue that there has been a bit of poetic justice, that the forward pass controversy is something that I'm sure we'll talk about later on in this game. But for the moment, it's the hosts leading South Korea by 17 points to 14.
අයිබෝවන් 2025 ලෝක කුසලාන රග්බී තරඟාවලිය සඳහා ආසියානු කලාපයේ සුදුසුකම් ලබා ගන්නා රට කුමක්ද කියන කාරණාව පිළිබඳව තෝරාපත් කර ගන්නා රග්බී තරඟයේ උණුසුමත් එකයි සිරස ටීවී ඔස්සේ ඔබ රැඳී සිටියේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම සහ දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායම අතර තුරංග තරඟ පිටියේ පැවති තරඟයේ පළමු අර්ධය නිමා වන විට වැඩි ගෞරව හිමි කර ගන්නට සමත් වන්නේ සත්කාරක ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම තරඟ ආරම්භයේ ඉඳන් ප්‍රතිවාදී දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායමට ප්‍රබල අභියෝගයක් ලබා දෙන්නට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රීඩකයන්ට හැකියාව ලැබුණා. යනුව පළමු අර්ධය නිමාවට පත්වන විට ලකුණු පූර්ව දැක්වෙන්නේ ලකුණු 14 ලෙසයි. උත්සාහක දිනුම් 3ක් ඒ වගේම ප්‍රවර්තන 3ක් සහ එක් දඩුවම් පහරක් මගිනුයි ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම සේ ලකුණු 14 රැස් කරන්නේ. ප්‍රතිවාදී දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායම උත්සාහක දිනුම් 2ක් සහ ප්‍රවර්තන 2ක් සමගින් ඔවුන්ගේ ලකුණු 14 රැස් කර ගන්නවා. ඒ අනුව ජයග්‍රාහී බලාපොරොත්තු තබාගත හැකි මොහොතක පළමු අර්ධය නිමාවට පත්වද්දී මේ තරගයේ පළමු අර්ධයේ තොරතුරු පිළිබඳව ක්‍රීඩාංගණයේ ඉඳන්ම කතා බහ කරන්න වින්දන ප්‍රසාද් කරුණාරත්න සෝදනා. වින්දන අපි අවස්ථාව ලබා දෙන්නේ ඔබට.
ඔව් අපි මේ මොහොතේදී පළමු වර්ගයේ අවසන් භාගයේ ඔබ යලි හමුවන්නේ රේස්කෝස් ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේ සිට රග්බි ලෝක ශූරතාවය සඳහා ආසියානු කලාපයේ සුදුස්සන් තේරීමේ තරඟාවලියේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව මුහුණ දෙන පළමු අභියෝගය දකුණු කොරියාවට එරෙහිව ශ්‍රී ලංකාව මේ මොහොත වන විට ඉදිරියෙන් සිටිනවා ලකුණු 17ට 14ක් ලෙස. අප සමග සිටිනවා ජාතික කණ්ඩායමේ හිටපු ක්‍රීඩකයෙක් හෙෂාන් ගුණරත්න. හෙෂාන්, ඔබ ක්‍රීඩා කරපු කාලයත් එක්ක ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම අද දවසේදී හොඳ ස්ථානයක සිටින්නේ පළමු භාගය අවසන් වන විට මොන වගේ හැඟීමක්ද තිබෙන්නේ කණ්ඩායම ගැන? පළමු අදියරේදී කණ්ඩායම ක්‍රීඩා විලාශය ගැන ඔබට අදහසක් තියනවද?
වින්දර ඇත්තටම ෆස්ට් හාෆ් එකේ ගොඩක් එනර්ජිටික් විදියට සෙල්ලම් කරා. අපි අපේ ලොකුම චැලෙන්ජ් එක අපි හිතුවේ මේ පැක් එකෙන් අපේ වීක්නස් එක තියෙයි කියලා. හැබැයි පැක් එක හොඳට අල්ලන් යනවා ඒගොල්ලන්. බැක් ලයින් එක කවදත් ලංකාවේ ගොඩක් ස්කිල්ෆුල් ප්ලේයර්ස්ලා හිටියා. අපි වැටෙන්නේ සාමාන්‍ය ස්ට්‍රෙන්තන් ගොඩක් ස්ට්‍රැටජික් පැත්තෙන්. හැබැයි ඒක ඒ බ්‍රිජ් එක මම හිතන්නේ ෆස්ට් හාෆ් එක ෆීල් කරලා තිබ්බා. ඒකින්ද හොඳ මොමන්ටම් එකක් තියෙනවා ඉස්සරහට.
එතකොට මීළඟ වටයට යන්නට ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම මීට වඩා ශක්තියක් එක්ක මේ අභියෝගය මේ විදිහටම තියාගෙන යාමේ අභියෝගයක් තිබෙනවා. ඒ සඳහා ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමේ ක්‍රීඩකින් මේ ක්‍රීඩා කරපු විදිහත් එක්ක ඔබ හිතන්නේ මොන විදිහේ මොමන්ටම් එකක් බිල්ඩ් කරගන්න ඕනේද මේ ඊළඟ හාෆ් එක ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම ජයග්‍රහණයකින් මේ තරඟය අවසන් කරනවා නම්?
ඔව්, දැන් සාමාන්‍ය රග්බි වල ගොඩක් ලෝකේ ගත්තොත් ස්ට්‍රෝං ටීම්ස් ගත්තොත් නිව්සීලන්ත වගේ ඒගොල්ලන් ගොඩක් පර්ෆෝම් කරන්නේ සෙකන්ඩ් හාෆ් එකේ. ඉතින් මේ මොමන්ටම් එකම ගෙනිච්චේ නැත්නම් සෙකන්ඩ් හාෆ් එකට මට හිතෙනවා කොරියන් ටීම් එක ගොඩක් ඉස්සරහට එන්න බලයි. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්ලේයර්ස්ලා ගොඩක් ලොකුයි. මම හිතන්නේ පළපුරුද්දෙන්ුත් වැඩි, ටෙක්නොලොජි වැඩි ඒ රටවල් වල. ඒකින්ද මම හිතන්නේ මේ තියෙන ඩිසිප්ලින් එකයි මොමන්ටම් එකයි ඉස්සරහට අනිවාර්යෙන් ගෙනියන්න ඕනේ. 105ක්වත් බැස්සොත් මට හිතෙනවා අපිට ඒකේ පනිෂ්මන්ට් එකක් හම්බෙයි කියලා.
හොඳයි, කොහොම නමුත් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම මේ මොහොත වෙද්දී ලකුණු 14ක් ලෙස ඉදිරියෙන් සිටින්නේ. මේ තමයි රග්බි ලෝක කුසලානය සඳහා ආසියානු කලාපයේ සුදුස්සන් තේරීමේ තරඟාවලියේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව මුහුණ දෙන පළමු අභියෝගය දකුණු කොරියාවට එරෙහිව. ඉන් පසුව හොංකොං රාජ්‍ය එක්සත් අරාබි එමිරේට් රාජ්‍යයට එරෙහිවත් තරඟ වදින්නට ඕනේ. මේ තරඟ තුනම ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්නට ඕනේ. මේ තරඟෙන් පස්සේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාවට තිබෙන අභියෝගයන් දෙක මොන වගේ විදිහටද ඔබට දැනෙන්නේ හිටපු ජාතික කණ්ඩායමේ ක්‍රීඩකෙක් හැටියට?
අපි ශ්‍රී ලංකන ගන්න හොංකොං කියලා කියන්නේ ඉතාමත් ලොකු නමක්, ලොකු කණ්ඩායමක්. මොකද ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ගොඩක් ෆොරෙන් ප්ලේයර්ස්ලා ඉන්නවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ රග්බි පොලිසිස් ගොඩක් ඇඩ්වාන්ස් අපිට වඩා. ඒකින්ද මම හිතන්නේ මේ පර්ෆෝමන්ස් එකට වඩා මම හිතන්නේ අපි අඩියක් දෙයක් ඉස්සරහට තියන්න වෙනවා හොංකොං වගේ ටීම් එකකට. මට හිතෙනවා අපේ සෙටප් එකත් එක්ක අපේ කෝචින් අලුත් කෝචින් ස්ටාෆ් එකයි මැනේජ්මන්ට් එකයි මම හිතන්නේ අලුත් ලොකු වෙනසක් කරලා තියෙනවා මේ පරිපාලනය අතින් රග්බි වල. ඒකින්ද මට හිතෙනවා ඉස්සරහට හොඳ රිසල්ට් එකක් තියෙයි කියලා.
ජාතික කණ්ඩායමක කැප් එකක්, නැෂනල් කැප් එකක් ගන්නවා කියන්නේ ලේසි නෑ. අද ඇවිල්ලා ඔබ ක්‍රීඩා කරපු ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේ ජාතික කණ්ඩායමේ ක්‍රීඩකෙක් හැටියට මේ කණ්ඩායම ක්‍රීඩා කරනවා දැක්කම මොන වගේ හැඟීමක්ද තියෙන්නේ?
අතරම ගොඩක් ආඩම්බරයි. ගොඩක්ම ආඩම්බරයි. මොකද ප්ලේයර්ස් අපි ගාන කාලේ වගේ නෙමෙයි. සමහරක් අය ඉස්සර මහතා හිටියා, දැන් ගොඩක් අය ඔක්කොම ෆිට්, ඩිසිප්ලින් තියෙන ස්ට්‍රක්චර්ඩ් ගේම් එකක් ගන්න හරිම ආඩම්බරයි.
හෙෂාන් ගුණරත්න ජාතික කණ්ඩායම නියෝජනය කළ ක්‍රීඩකයා අප සමගින් මේ කෙටි කතාබහට එකතු වුණේ. ඔබට බෙහෙවින්ම ස්තුතියි. අපි සූදානම් සිරස TV ඔස්සේ යලිත් තරගය නරඹන්නට.
The Koreans did come back. It was repeatedly infringed. Ratwata benefiting from Korean blindside flanker going off his feet. And of course Korea once again getting into that red zone and using their superior physicality to score their second try. Conversion was successful, and then on the stroke of half-time, Murshid Zubair and Pasindu Bandara linking up brilliantly to give Sri Lanka the lead, with Ratwata putting the conversion over for what has been a brilliant first half by the Tuskers.
The Tuskers will take a lot of heart, but they need to make sure and they need to remember that this is a 80-minute game. This 40 is going to be absolutely crucial because the Tuskers are going to play against the wind, and Korea, like we've seen, are very, very happy to put the ball up. A change has been made with Namuk Kim coming onto the field for South Korea.
Yes, the wind has definitely picked up here at the race course as well. So both teams will need to be aware of that.
Wait for the whistle, please.
Especially when it comes to the respective kicking games.
Are we good to go? Wait.
So 3 of the 4 officials from the United Arab Emirates, who will be Sri Lanka's next opposition. They will be looking to take control of this next 40 minutes as well. Can Sri Lanka hold on to this wafer-thin lead that they went into half-time with? Maybe a little fortunate to go into half-time as well with that little lead.
It's like we're busy dealing with the signboard at the same time, okay? We're dealing with the signboard at the same time.
Tarindra Ratwata having a little chat to the referee as they came out, Abdullah, complaining about some of the tactics that South Korea allegedly using in the breakdowns. Doesn't want the South Korean team to smash into them without any real intent. Just blocking the ball, he says, and referee Clement will be on the lookout for it. And second half underway in Colombo of match day 1 of this round 3 game of the men's qualification process for Rugby World Cup 2027. Beautiful charge down that time. Can they get the ball in? Lahiru Tilakaratne scores. Brilliant reaction from Lahiru Tilakaratne. And what a way to start the second half for the Sri Lankans. The flanker, who had a head knock a little while earlier on, couldn't believe his luck and weighted his grubber beautifully before touching this one down. Of course, the TMO will want to check this one, but let's see whether there was anything wrong with that try.
Well, absolutely no problem from what we saw. The Korean player who was retreating there was Hong Yung-yang, says he got it first, but that was all Lahiru Tilakaratne. Absolutely no problem. 5 points on the board for Sri Lanka, just what the doctor ordered, and Ratwata makes it 7. 24-14, 10-point lead, and the Tuskers are flying high here at the racecourse.
Well, they've gone back and checked to see where Lahiru Tilakaratne started from, and he started behind the line, is what the TMO has just been told. So the try is good, and Lahiru Tilakaratne gets Sri Lanka off to a brilliant start. And this is where it's so important that Sri Lanka exit from this kickoff. It's a crucial moment in the game as Kim Min puts this one deep into Murshid Zubair's hands. Lasindu Vishan. This is where Sri Lanka don't want to muck around in their half. They've done some really good exits so far. And this time they give it to Ratwata. Taken that time by Jeong. Gowda, we haven't really seen too much over the ball as Hyo gives it, and there's some numbers available for South Korea. Looked like it might have been spilt. And again, South Korea just unable to make those numbers count, and the fatigue you can see from the body language is setting in, Sudarshana.
It surely is setting in for South Korea, and the frustration. They would have wanted to boss this one. They would have wanted to boss this game, but Sri Lanka now really cranking it up here at the racecourse.
Another thing Sri Lanka have done really well throughout this game is they're really scrapped in defense as well. Whenever there's seemed to be an overlap out wide, they've definitely got the numbers across. So, offensive scrum for Sri Lanka. No doubt they look to try and get a quick hit.
Nicely done by Lasindu Vishan. Nice channel one ball. Akash Madhushankar straight through. And now it's quick ball for Heshan Jansen. Over the top to Dinal Ekanayaka, and he breaks free. Bumps off another tackle, Ekanayaka.
Advantage lost forward.
Zubair was there to do the clean-up job, and now there's a little bit space for Akash Madhushan once again, stepping back into the field of play. Had only forwards around him and didn't trust them. Tarinder Ratwata now to Gowda. Gowda, lovely ball from Gowda off the floor. Lovely floated ball to Heshan Jansen. Jansen is under the post. Sri Lankan crowd goes wild. Heshan Jansen, left to right and swinging the pendulum back right to left. Even Dushant Leke, one of the most taciturn men you'll ever meet, can't help but break out in a smile.
Absolutely, and this is what we were calling for just before halftime, wasn't it? Get into those one-on-one situations. The Sri Lankans with their nifty footwork. No match for this Korean defense. So we have a look at that once again. Brilliantly weighted pass by the skipper. Gowda making that initial break. Just the presence of mind to find his skipper again. Ratwata finding his partner in crime, Jehan Jansen, to put the finishing touches. Brilliant start by Sri Lanka in this second half.
Well, the two brother-in-laws making sure that they score soon after the break. Jansen and Tilakaratne. The Jansen household will be a happy one, but Tarinder Ratwata, you will put your money, you would put your house on the fact that he'll convert that. Misses that one out, 29 points to 14.
Number 3.
Lovely offload from Gowda. And here's Ratwata, sees Jansen. Nicely weighted pass. And the moment he got across, Jansen knew that he's touching down.
Spectacular dive. Lahira Tilakaratne, of course, married to Sri Lanka's junior athlete Shalinda Jansen, sister of Heshan. So, fortunately for Heshan, he's not even the fastest player in his family, but he was fast enough to get over there. Allowing the ball to bounce and passing to Bandara now with a little bit of confidence. His try wasn't chalked off, so he will go down on the score sheet. And Sri Lanka now probably under instructions from coach Rodney Gibbs to run from wherever you can. Put the Koreans under pressure. This man has been good so far, Jang Hyangju. Nice flat pass. Cutting back infield, and that's a lovely offload. Brilliantly done that time by Jeong Yong-suk. And the replacement, Kim Namuk, will be the man to touch down. To Sri Lanka cannot afford to relax despite going into the lead.
Well, yet again, that was a clear course of losing concentration after scoring. Teams are really vulnerable when after they score. Pasidu Bandara did have that space to attack from, but Sri Lanka did not really have a plan after that to run. Should have exited. But this is an opportunity for South Korea to really claw their way back into this game. Getting 5 points on the board right underneath the post. 19 to 29 with the conversion to come, which should be a regulation kick for Young. No problem there. So 21-29. This game suddenly in this second 40 has become a high-scoring affair.
Jang Hyungju, and how much will that conversion miss by Tarinder Ratwata a few seconds ago? Will that come back to haunt Sri Lanka? Lovely step in by Jeong Hyung-soo, and gave a beautiful right-handed offload to his fullback. Nice run by Park Jung-yong. Here's the strike scorer, Kim. Ball is available, says the referee, and it's slow ball for Hill. Dinalekanayakat as well, can't find Mauritius Zubair is off the foot, and there's another replacement, Kang Sung-hyuk.
50-22.
And that's a brilliant kick. It's an absolutely fantastic kick. Dinar Lekanayaka and Murshid Zubair just unable to combine there. And the 50-22 is good from the South Koreans.
This is what experienced team do.
Substitution.
Under adversity, they will want to make sure that they get back on to their basics as Sri Lanka make a couple of changes, getting fresh legs on the park. Brilliant work by the halfback, Yong Hyo. 50-22 getting his team onto the opposite side. The two props being changed. In comes Vimukti Gamage and Dilshan Jaya for Sri Lanka.
Kim Namuk, they're giving him plenty of ball since he's come off the bench in this second half. Here's the other replacement, Jang Sekwan. Here's Kang Sung-hyuk Khan. Here's Kim Namuk. Stepping back in field is Park. This is a sustained period of pressure from South Korea, but as I say that, Sri Lanka are lucky that Kang Sung-hyuk knocked that ball on.
Since that Sri Lanka have just lost a little bit of concentration, isn't it, after those two try blitz? Just need to regather their thoughts. Still a good half an hour to go.
Green number. Green number.
This is going to be a very crucial scrum. Remember, two brand new prop forwards for Sri Lanka as Tilakaratne's time has been called.
They brought Dahan Wickramaratne on in place of Lahiru Tilakaratne. And I thought he might go to the number 8 position, but Lasindu Ishan has stayed there. Be interesting to see whether that switch will be made as the game goes on.
Crouch!
But 29-21, still a 2-score lead for Sri Lanka, but 31-21 would have looked really nice.
Make sure we keep it
Lahiru Tilakaratne
on your ball and on your
be very happy with his contribution. Made some telling tackles and scored the try, the first try for Sri Lanka in this first half. And this man has been dangerous since he's come on. Kim Namuk.
Crouch! Bad!
Looked like it was an early shove.
Sit.
So it's a new man.
You boys. Sit.
In place of Lee Hyun-soo, and that's Kang Sung-hyuk.
Please watch your son. Look! Wait for the ball. Crouch!
So the new front rowers on both sides causing a few problems for the refereeing team.
Set!
That's a better set, and nicely done by Lasindu. Lasindu fights his way to the floor, but it was a good tackle by Hyo. And Ratwatta, thinking that discretion is the better part of valor, puts this deep. And this is a danger man, sparking a counter-attack.
No hands!
Zhang in the number 15 jersey. It's a beautiful spot tackle, but not before he shovels the ball on. Here's Na. Lovely no-look pass from the skipper. Here's the man who set up the last try. He's trying to do it again, gets the pass away, and it's an identical combination. Super run by Jean. And that's reached over, and try scored that time by Jang Sekwan. And again, Sri Lanka cut wide open on this right-hand touchline. And the defensive lateral movement is nowhere to be seen in the second half.
Yes, and again, it just led from the fact that Sri Lanka couldn't find touch, isn't it? Korea very strong on the counter attack, as we can see, and just come storming back into this game. Also, you sense that those fresh legs that have come off the bench for the Koreans have also had an impact. Have a look at that once again. This placement front row forward, Jang, who put the finishing touches to that move, and Koreans definitely made a strong comeback in this last 13 minutes or so.
Young Chekon touching down for Korea, but Kim Namuk, who has come on to the field in that number 22 jumper, has made a big impact in this second 40 for Korea. Well, had the distance, but the win taking it away from the Poor, so the score will remain at 29 points to 26. Again, we come back to that lost conversion from Ratwate. It would have been a 5-point lead, but nevertheless Sri Lanka 3 points in front.
Which number's coming off?
Ratwate tried stealing that ball with their hands on the ground to secure it for Korea.
So substitution being made. Murshid Zubair, who scored the first try for Sri Lanka, will be coming off, and he'll be replaced by Tenukanane Kara, no doubt.
Number 15 off.
Be interesting to see who moves to fullback. It's like Gowda will move to fullback, and Murshid Zubair will go to the bench. His afternoon done. Kim Kimin. And this man has been dangerous as well. Number 7, Park Ju-yong. Lovely little grubber kick that time, and Tarinda Ratwata has to sweep. And again, Korea diving into that ruck through Park Jung-yu, which is what the Sri Lankan skipper has been complaining about. Kim Namuk with a lovely tackle there, but Akash able to get the ball away.
Time off. We have a flag, foul play against Green. Time off. Time. Foul play.
I believe that's a call from the TMO regarding some foul play.
Open up. Open up.
So we're going to go back a couple of rucks.
Yaku, I'm in your hands.
Do you have anything else that shows the halfway line on the last breakdown?
Captain. Number 18. Your side, yes. It's a flag against you. Off the ball. Alright. Off the ball, making contact. Alright, we need to leave each other alone. It's a penalty against Green. AO score, thank you.
If you can go back and have a look at that.
Check, this one is against you. So you have a chance.
And Tarinda Ratwata very
Captain, are you
insistent about that conversation with referee JP Clement, that they're slowing the game down. Let's watch this one here. Number 18, Dilshan Jaya, is the guilty party as Ratwata picks up. It was a good tackle by Chang Yongju.
Green, number 4, substitution. Number 4, substitution, Green.
Now embarrassing a call to the bench. Setting it up the Koreans.
Taken by the try scorer that time, Oki. No.
It's open. Going forward as maul. It wasn't a maul, it was a tackle. It was open play. It was a tackle, and the ball's not available. So scrum, what? Okay.
Interesting call there. The maul is over there. And because it was a tackle, the referee is saying that it was unplayable. Don't see those calls too often in modern rugby. Something that was very much existent back in the day, but very rarely that you see this one now as Pulasti Dasanayaka goes off to make way for Venura Kodagoda. So Sri Lanka's finishers coming on, and Korea's finishers have made a huge impact since coming on, Abdullah.
Yes, they most definitely have. Just got themselves in the correct positions.
Crouch!
Now another big test for the Sri Lankan 8 here.
Space. Space.
Something you need to keep an eye out on for Sri Lanka is the fact that whether they are getting the maximum support that they need to get in these scrums from their third rovers. If you see where Chandu Saswanga is binding, and also where the number 7 for Korea, Park Jung-young, is binding, he's giving all the support, whereas Sri Lanka forwards are isolated, the front 5.
Kim Namuk, again the ball carrier, try scorer and danger man in the second half. Lovely little shovel on from Jung, the try scorer as well. Oki no passing the ball back, and that time Sri Lanka using goalkeeper's feet to keep the ball out, but again a scrum penalty coming back to haunt Sri Lanka.
Number 1.
Yes, it's an area of the game that Sri Lanka have struggled. And interestingly, the Koreans this time deciding to go to touch.
Ratwata managing to get his feet in there without getting nutmegged. And Okino takes this ball at the front. Sri Lanka really under the cosh here. Korea not able to get this ball away, and this time the hand comes up, as far as the home crowd is concerned, in the right direction.
That will give a lot of confidence to the Sri Lankan forwards who've been under the palm, especially come scrum time. But there was a mold that was set, and Sri Lanka doing very well not to infringe. They were behind the line, and they made sure that they kept their pressure on the line of attack of Korea and managing to bring it down legally and put pressure on the ball. Now it's important for Ratwate to try and exit. Tenuknana Kara is also an option who has gone into the pocket. So 2 options available for Jansen. Karnathalika might try to pick this up quickly and create that angle.
Sit!
Almost certainly we'll see Lasinda Vishan off the back. Here's Ratwata, has to carry, so he won't be the clearing player. Tenukanane Akara with a little chip over the top. I don't know how good a tactic that was, as they've got that pass was miles forward, not picked up by TMO Dumini this time though. And this is one more Jeong Hyung-se who goes back. And this one, will it be called back or not? That's something that we need to see. So watch that pass. That pass is fine. And that pass, also the offload from Kim Namuk, is a brilliant one.
Yes, well, regardless, Shanaka, I think this is the third try Sri Lanka have conceded by not clearing their lines, and it's an area in this latter part of this second half that has let them down. Just losing a little bit of concentration. Nane Akara making a half break and then just deciding to put a small grubber. Quite sure that was the correct choice. And the Koreans, they've been lethal in the counter attack. with that try, taken a slender 2-point lead with an opportunity to extend it to 4. Conversion not successful, so it will remain 31 points to 29. Still a quarter to go, still time in this game, but Sri Lanka just need to tighten up those loose ends if they have to continue to make a game of it, because in the last 10 minutes or so the momentum has definitely swung towards the Koreans.
It certainly has, Abdullah, and that's where that physical dominance of the first half is going to come back to haunt Sri Lanka.
Water break. What's up?
Be interesting to see the pass just before when Tenukanane-Akkara's chip kick was picked up by Jung, and he sparked that counter-attack. Not sure if he can go that far back, of course, and it's all water under the bridge now, but it will still be interesting to see.
I think this water break would have come at the right time for Sri Lanka. In some of the other games, you do have tactical breaks. This could be called a tactical break for Sri Lanka. Try and get those big breaths in, refocus and concentrate on what they want to do here. They want to make sure that they get back to the basics, how they played the majority of the first 40. They need to try and go back to that. Put pressure on these Koreans. They are letting them stay a little too long in their own 50. South Korea, on the other hand, have really showcased why they are a really good team, why they are ranked so high in Asia. Predictions are that are in favor of South Korea to finish either second or third in this competition. It's up to the Sri Lankans to try and upset that and change that.
Well, they've taken a few steps in the right direction, the Sri Lankans. Can they continue to do so? Huang felled by Dinal Ekanayake in a brave tackle. Hyo waits, and it's slow ball once again. And here's the man who has really disrupted since he's coming on, Jung Saekwon.
Use it! Use!
Looking for the box kick is Hyo. And that one goes straight into touch, so you can see that the wind is troubling the team that is playing with it more than the team playing against it, actually.
Yes, it's a difficult one to judge the way the wind goes. This one is going to be a crucial line out for Sri Lanka. Remember, 2 brand new front rows, 2 new hooker in the mix as well. When Rakoda Agoda will have to hit his mark, we'll need to make sure. Going through the hands of Tilna Bandara, who's normally extremely safe.
Uncharacteristic mistake by Tilina Bandara, who is usually so good. And this is the first time that Adam Gowde has had a chance to really stretch his legs. Lovely offload from the floor again from the Brisbane-based Sri Lankan. Lovely hands from Tenukanane-Akkara. Passing to Bandara, steps but straight into Chang Yong-heng. When Rakoda is smashed back in the tackle by big Korean forwards, and that's what Inbum Hwang
on the ball
did that Tarinder Ratpata has been talking about. Just going in a little bit late and with nothing more than shoulders into the breakdown once the ball has been won or lost. Akash does well to time his tackle.
Flat, play on.
Wrong ball, and has been juggled. And Jeong, who has been a revelation in this second half, puts this one in. Oh, he's should buy a lottery ticket today, Jeong Yongju, because that was a brilliant 50-22. He knows he's got a slice of luck, and so does his teammate Kim Namuk there.
50-22, Yaku? No.
Officials checking whether that was carried back by the Koreans themselves.
Yeah. Tony, I just want to check if the ball was carried back.
Referee JP Clement asking Tony Dumini to just check whether the ball was carried back by Korea, because
I'm checking. Wait. Yes, Tony. Okay. Fifteen 22. Wait for me. Wait for me.
was referee Dumini confirming that there was a breakdown in the half before Jeong made that kick. So it will remain white ball. Peeling off the back that time, but it's untidy. Standing strong in the tackle was Park. And now both sides available. Lovely hands, and Kim in. Just going in here. Brilliant tackle that time by Shanal Adhikaram, who's made his debut for Sri Lanka, the young royalist. Kim Namuk, and he has been so dangerous since he's come on. Running like a trailer. Kang Sung-hyun.
Green.
Here's Hwang to his front row partner, Chue Ho-young.
Let it come.
Zhang.
Come on, boys. No. Advantage.
No arms
the tackle.
in the tackle is the call from referee Clement, and that ball is a nice one over the top.
Penalty advantage.
Here's Zhang.
I'll play the advantage.
Still playing advantage for South Korea, referee Clement. Stepping in field. Here's Chung.
You want the advantage? Nothing's happening from there. Grass cutter tackle.
No tackle.
Tackling,
No.
straight to ground.
It's a grass cutter tackle is the terminology used by referee Clement.
Tackler, don't dive to the ground.
So tackler going straight to ground, and even though he did use his arms, it was not a safe tackle. And Sri Lanka conceding a penalty, and South Korea rather, will probably go for the scrum.
South Korea straight away signaling for the scrum. This has been an area that they've absolutely dominated the opposition. Sri Lanka will be put on notice because Korea does have options on either side of the field as well. Steady scrum, looking to shove this one forward. Advantage straight away opted to South Korea.
Kim Namuk puts it in, but it's a little bit too long, the grubber. But they'll come back for the penalty in the scrum. So if you have to look at one area in the game where Sri Lanka have been second best, and convincingly so, it'll have to be the front five, Abdullah, and that's what has led to this slim but still deserved lead for Korea.
Yes, most definitely, and this is what international rugby is about, isn't it, Changa? Probably not exposed to this kind of pressure in the domestic game. Quality which the Korean, not just the starting tight five, but even what they brought on the bench, just the inability to cope with that is been very evident. As you can see, Sri Lanka doing the changes, brought in Mohammad Rifan.
Well, Sri Lanka's 6-2 split was always going to be a bit of a gamble. You can see why they used it, because this Korean pack has far outweighed them. But that means that they have to put Rifan in at number 15. Gowda going off, had to cover a lot of ground. Big Adam Gowda.
Good on the advantage.
Sri Lanka's front row have detached, so the referee will probably think of a penalty try here. Yes, it is. And it's another 7-pointer.
Ball's not out. Penalty try.
Penalty try is the call, and it was the only one that could have been given with Korea marching forward at a rate of knots. And there's no option but for JP Clements to send Heshan Jansen to the bench as well.
Yes, well, things are falling apart here for the Sri Lankans, and you could attribute it to the wonderful work of the tight five of the Koreans. Been brilliant throughout the game, especially at scrum time. And just those players off the bench who have come in have also added to the Sri Lankan woes. So Nanyakara restarts proceedings. Comfortably collected, and the Koreans will just put it into touch. Just like that, score has moved on. Koreans now relatively comfortably ahead, 38 points to 29. Sri Lanka down a player as well.
Shwe Senggyok is on the park in the number 20 jersey as Heshan Jansen looks along frustrated from the sin bin. Tinina Bandara, Rifan, Venudak, and that time it's Ratwatta. Nanyakara with a lovely ball to Pasindu Bandara. Pasindu Bandara gives it straight back to Kim Kimin. Needed to step inside and stay inside, but that ball has been thumped straight into touch. So Sri Lanka will get a second bite of the cherry.
Let's go, come.
Pasindu Bandara needed some tending to, but South Korea now looking to try and manage this game. They're 9 points in front of Sri Lanka. Got to credit the wonderful work done by the Papare in producing this coverage for everybody around the world. Sri Lanka's #1 sports channel, bringing you all these pictures of international test rugby from the racecourse grounds. Advantage in favour of Sri Lanka. This will be a moral victory for the forwards.
So the Koreans will now know that they can afford to just slow this game down.
Number 6 entry at the maul, and over here offside. But
and make sure they don't give
offside.
Any kind of territorial gain to Sri Lanka. Still 9 minutes to go. Anything could happen. But given the way that the Korean bench have been functioning, you have to put your money on the fact that they'll be able to see this one out.
Straight.
Sri Lanka still with an opportunity to try and make this a 3-point game if they can hold on to possession. And we've seen one-on-one the backs have managed to break the gain line. Benroko Dagoda going to ground, ball jutting out.
Well, they've done well to try and retain this one, but they will concede the ball to the Koreans, who will no doubt take as much time as they can with this line out. But once again, even in the driving maul, Abdullah, they're trying to play the Koreans where they are the strongest at.
Yeah, that's right. Here, probably a little bit of a lack of communication. Ekanaika was expected to be out wide by Tarinder Ratwata, but it wasn't the case.
Advantage lost forward, but what?
Sri Lanka managed to turn the ball over.
Happy. Lost forward.
Knock on. So an opportunity here for Sri Lanka.
Well, this is a crucial scrum in this game. If the Koreans manage to win another penalty, I think that would be curtains for Sri Lanka. But this time, Sri Lanka need to make it count. There's a big short side.
Let's reset, boys, come on. Let's wait. No, come. Wait for the ball. Let's go.
Sri Lanka still stands there halfback, but Rifan, who came in as a fullback, will have to step in. He's normally a halfback. That's his pet position.
No, that's not good enough, boys. That's not good enough. I have you early and I have you early.
Sri Lanka playing with 14. Dilshan Jaya on the near side, really struggling under the weight of Kang Sung Hyuk, the tight head for Korea, the replacement tight head. Can see Jaya when he sets up, he's on his heels. And this is an area that Sri Lanka need to go back to the drawing board on in their club rugby as well to make sure that they don't concede, but taken quickly by Lasindo Ishan from the back of the scrum. And Tirina Bandara now carrying towards the 5-meter line. The crowd now wakes up. Here's Tarindu Chaturanga. Gladiatorial Tarindu Chaturanga.
Be careful.
Vikum.
Advantage offside.
Lasindo Ishan stands strong, gets on his feet, can get the ball away to Dinale Kanayaka. Kanayaka, can he score? Yes, he can. Dinale Kanayaka gets in. And Sri Lanka don't need the two advantages that they had coming, but can they get the conversion over?
Tarendra Ratwate will put his kicking boots on here. Dinale Kanayaka, you can't keep that man away from the whitewash. 34 points to 38. 4 points separating the two sides. Lost in the corner. What an effort. Gets away from 4 tackles. Dinale Kanayaka going against his opposite number. Knew exactly where the line was. Touches down for an important score for the Tuskers. 4 minutes to go on our clock. Ratwate with a very, very important conversion coming up. Can he make the difference? Merely 2 points as the skies open up. Little overcooked. So the score will remain 34 points to 38.
So one score in it. Sri Lanka have given themselves an opportunity in this final 3.5 minutes or so.
But you have to ask yourselves, those 2 conversions, and Sri Lanka are going home with a draw, or staying home with a draw, I should say. But he's had a lot of work to do, Tarendra Ratwate. And the wind has just died down after being a steady gust for the last 75 minutes or so, which also would have impacted that kick.
3 minutes left. 3 minutes left.
Sri Lanka, do they have one last lap left in the tank against this tiring Korean team? Taking plenty of time, allowing plenty of recovery to happen for both teams.
Everyone behind, yeah? Happy? Time back.
Some big gulps of air in the last few seconds from both teams. Sri Lanka, will they have to run this one, or will they settle it down and hope for another opportunity? Well, Ratwate takes it into contact, and that's the penalty. That's where the game is lost, and you have to say that Sri Lanka have failed to exit 3 times and conceded 3 tries, and with it, perhaps the game.
Captain, please choose.
Tarendra Ratwate is running straight up.
Come a little this way.
Had his backs to try and shift the ball from where he collected it. Like you mentioned, Sri Lanka not managing to exit 3 times, and they paid with points. Korea will be looking to kill this game off from here. Just under 2 minutes on our clock. And this is going to be a crucial scrum for the Tuskers if they are going to have a time, have any opportunity. South Korea will be looking to seal this game off.
Really strong drive from Korea. Once again, they'll be hoping for another penalty try. Yep,
Penalty advantage.
and the advantage is
Penalty
coming.
advantage. Ball offside, that ball.
Still flying into the tackles. Shenal Adhikaram with a really aggressive hit there.
Stand up, stand up, stand up, stand up.
South Korea won't mind this. They will just hold on to the ball. And in this rain,
Keep it up, keep it up, keep it up.
they will just go to ground and make sure that they don't cough the ball up. Referee still playing advantage despite
the penalty.
Korea going
You
back.
have a penalty. Use it. Use. Good enough. Let's go back over here.
It's going back for the penalty. And the Koreans will probably opt for another scrum to see this game and put it to bed.
Scrum call, time
Yes,
off.
that's exactly what they're doing.
Time off, front row, please come here.
Kim Jeep is the man who signals the scrum. And this has been a long afternoon for the front five.
Yes, they've definitely learnt a lot probably from this experience, understand what scrummaging at international level is all about.
Anchor and everyone swing around. Okay? If you're going back, go together.
So the referee just trying to explain to them what they're doing wrong.
What? Not this way. Can I get a time check there?
I think it's
30
just
seconds.
the brute power and
30
force of the Korean tight five that's actually made the mistake, that made the difference. I don't think none of these boys would have experienced this kind of scrummaging in their careers. Real eye-opener for them. And the more exposed they are to this kind of competition, the better they'll get.
What Sri Lanka can try and do is to try and go lower than the Koreans, because these are some tall lads in that front five, to try and negate that drive that's coming in, which is what they're doing at the moment. But now Korea managing to really use it is the call from the referee, again playing advantage in favor of Korea.
Going off the back was Chue. And here's the big man who's created so many problems since coming on, Jang Sekwan. Can South Korea finish off with a flourish?
Out.
And that's the game. No, it's not. There's one more penalty left before the game is up.
Can the table please confirm time is up? Table, please confirm time is up. Time is over, yes. So I had penalty.
Well, will South Korea go for the try? Or will they tap and chuck this one out?
What are you doing?
Yes, that's what they choose to do. They bring an end to the game, which is a little bit of respect also for this defensive effort of Sri Lanka. But finally, the pedigree has come to the fore. And despite a 20-minute period where Sri Lanka were in the ascendancy just before halftime and just after halftime, the big South Koreans managed to do the job on this front five. And when you've got a team that's going backwards so fast, there's a very little that even the most talented backs can do without the ball. And Sri Lanka, despite that, have done really well to get 34 points on the board. But the pedigree and the experience of this South Korean team, just a little too much for the young Sri Lankans.
That disappointed faces from the Sri Lankans, but jubilation for Korea, who will have a long hard think, because they wouldn't be too happy that they let 34 points to be scored by the opponents. Gents, we need to really start a discussion about the player of the match, and some of the players from both teams really putting their hands up. But my nomination is going to be Jang Yong-sik, the number 14 for South Korea, who scored two very crucial tries in a moment where Sri Lanka did look like they had the upper hand.
For me, though, I think the man who played the whole game Jung Hyung-ju, the fullback for Korea, was also outstanding. Sudarshan, and I feel he was more influential in the game. Jeong did what he needed to do, but I thought Jung was probably the better player on the day.
I think with both of us having two names, the deciding vote will go into Abdullah, hoping that he doesn't come up with another name.
No, I think it's a pretty close call between the entire back three as well. I think Sri Lanka probably aided the cause by not finding touch when clearing their lines, and the South Korean back three made maximum use of it. But I just think it's the number 15, Jong, probably who just initiated those attacks and managed to get behind that first line of defense of the Sri Lankan chasers and create opportunities for his wing. So I'd probably go with the Korean fullback.
It's a democracy here at the Combox. So Yang Hong-ju in his second cap for Korea will be our player of the match. Also, we need to try and discuss about the best player of the losing side, of the Sri Lankan side. Some very inspirational performances from them as well. You've got to tip your hat to the entire back row of Sri Lanka. Tarindu Chaturanga, Lasulu Karnatilak and Lahiru Tirukarapna as well, who are absolutely brilliant. And also from the back line, I thought the skipper, Tarindu Ratwatte, despite his two missed conversions, was influential in really putting his hand up.
Yes, it would have been a really historic moment if Sri Lanka managed to even draw this game. But fortunately it was not to be. Gowda with a lovely little chip, and Jansen scoring what was Sri Lanka's second try in a row. And that's when everyone thought that Sri Lanka really might do the unthinkable and beat South Korea at home. And from Sri Lanka's point of view, they just couldn't handle the weight, the bulk of these front rowers, who managed to get into positions well because of the scrum penalties that they were winning. And this man coming on at halftime made a huge difference. Number 22, Kim Namuk, really drew in a lot of defenders and managed to offload the ball. But for Sri Lanka, Lasindu Ishan, who's fighting here today, did brilliantly. And Dina Lekanayaka managed to get his try as well. Both wingers scoring for Sri Lanka. But Kim in, deciding that enough was enough, and you could see Sri Lanka's hands on the head, knowing that it was so close, but yet so far.
Yeah, definitely the experience really matters, isn't it? South Korean team, prior to this commencement of this championship, did play with the likes of Kenya as well in preparation to that. But Sri Lanka, only those two games against the New Zealand under 85, 34 points to 38, just 4 points difference between the two teams. The two botched conversions of those two tries being the difference between the two. 5 tries for Sri Lanka, 3 converted with a penalty for the mix, but South Korea touching down 6 times with 4 conversions coming on for them. The player of the match for the game, Jang Hong-ju, the fullback for South Korea, and the best player of the losing side, Lasulu Karnatilak, in the number 8 jersey.
So as you can see in that summary, Sri Lanka scoring 5 tries to 6 tries of Korea.
අයිබෝන් 2025 රග්බි ලෝක කුසලාන තරඟාවලිය සඳහා ආසියානු කලාපීය සුදුස්සන් තේරීමේ තරඟාවලියේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායම සමග සහභාගී වූ ඉතාමත් උද්වේගකර තීරණාත්මක තරඟයක අවසානයත් සමගනුයි අපි මේ ආකාරයෙන් සජීවීව ඔබත් එක්ක සම්බන්ධ වන්නේ. ඉතාමත් තියුණු තරඟයක් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමෙන් ප්‍රතිවාදී දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායමට එල්ල වුණා. තරඟ ආරම්භයේ සිටම ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රීඩකීන් ඉතාමත් උද්වේගකර තරඟයක් ලබා දුන්නා. හි ප්‍රතිඵලයක් ලෙස තමයි තරඟයේ පළමු අර්ධය අවසානයේදී ජයග්‍රාහී මානසිකත්වයෙන් යුතුව තරඟයේ පළමු අර්ධයේ වැඩි ගෞරව හිමි කර ගනිමින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම තරඟය අවසන් කළේ. කෙසේ වෙතත් ඔබ දන්නවා දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායම කියන්නේ ආසියානු කලාපීය රග්බි කණ්ඩායම් අතර ඉතාමත් ප්‍රබල කණ්ඩායමක්. අපි ශ්‍රේණිගත කිරීම වෙත අවධානය යොමු කළොත් ඔවුන් රැඳී සිටින්නේ ආසියානු කලාපයේ අංක 2 අංක 3 කියන ස්ථානයන් වල. ඉතින් ඒ වගේ කණ්ඩායමකින් අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම ජාත්‍යන්තර රග්බි තරඟයකදී දෙවැනි අර්ධයේදී සිය ප්‍රතිවාදී කණ්ඩායමට එල්ල කළ යුතු අභියෝගය කුමක්ද කියන කාරණාව පිළිබඳව ඔවුන් හොඳාකාරවම දන්නා නිසා ඒ අභියෝගය ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායමට ඔවුන් ලබා දුන්නා. නමුත් දෙවන අර්ධයේ ආරම්භයේ සිටම ඒ අභියෝගය ප්‍රති අභියෝගයක් බවට පත් කරන්නට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රීඩකින් සමත් වුණා. ඒ අනුව තමයි තරගයේ අවසානය වන තෙක් තරගයේ ජයග්‍රහණය දෙපිළ අතරම දෝලනය වෙමින් පැවතියේ. කෙසේ වෙතත් තරගයේ අවසානයේ වැඩි ගෞරව හිමි කරගත්තේ දකුණු කොරියානු කණ්ඩායම. කෙසේ නමුත් තරගයේ පුරාවට ශ්‍රී ලංකා රග්බි කණ්ඩායම සිය ප්‍රතිවාදීන්ට ලබා දුන්න අභියෝගය අපි අනිවාර්යෙන්ම පැසසුමට ලක් කළ යුතුමයි. ඉතින් තරගයේ අවසානයේදී අපිට හැකියාවක් තිබෙනවා නැවත වතාවක් ක්‍රීඩාංගණයට යමුවන්න. ඊට මත්මෙන් අපි අවධානය යොමු කළොත් එහෙම තරගයේ සම්පූර්ණ නියමිත කාලයේ අවසානයේදී කොහොමද ලකුණු පූර්ව නිර්මාණය වී තිබුණේ කියන කාරණාව පිළිබඳව අපි ඔබට කිව්වා. පළමු අර්ධයේ නිමාවන විට වැඩි ගෞරව ලබාගත්තේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම. නියමිත කාලයේ අවසානයේ තරගයේ නිමාවට පත් වුණේ ලකුණු 38ට 34ක් ලෙස දකුණු කොරියානු කණ්ඩායමට ජයග්‍රහණය හිමි කර දෙමින් දකුණු කොරියානු කණ්ඩායම සිය ලකුණු 38 රැස් කළේ උත්සාහක දිනුම් 6ක් ප්‍රවර්තන 4ක් සමගින් ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම සිය ලකුණු 34 රැස් කළේ උත්සාහක දිනුම් 5ක් ප්‍රවර්තන 3ක් සහ එක් දඩුවම් 5ක් මගින්. ඒ අනුව තමයි ලකුණු 38ට 34ක් ලෙස ලකුණු 4ක පරතරයකින් දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායම තරගය ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්නේ. ඉතින් තරගය මේ විදිහට නිමාවට පත්වද්දී ඔබ දන්නවා තවත් තරග කිහිපයක් නියමිතව තිබෙනවා මේ කාණ්ඩය තුළ ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම මුහුණ දෙන. අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ දකුණු කොරියා කණ්ඩායමට ලබා දුන්න අභියෝගයම ඉදිරියේදීත් ලබා දෙමින් 2025 ලෝක කුසලාන රග්බි තරඟාවලියට ශ්‍රී ලංකා කණ්ඩායම සුදුසුකම් ලබා ගනී කියලා. ඉතින් අද තරගය මේ විදිහට නිමාවට පත්වද්දී අපි තවත් උද්වේගකර තරගයකින් ඔබ හමුවේ බලාපොරොත්තු ඇතිව අපි සමුගන්නවා. ඔබට සුබ දවසක්.